Okay, still going on with the unit of food product development. Guys, today's recipe that I'm going to ask you to make at home, and it's going to be a bit more labour intensive than some of the recipes that you've done. Crunchy pork noodle balls, and I hope you enjoy them. Now, because this is so labour intensive in terms of saving some video time, I've already pre-prepared a few things before coming onto camera. So, as you know, the recipe will be provided with the video. Please remember to do the questions on the other side of the recipe. So I needed 300 grams of dried egg noodles, and they needed to be put into water and softened at the start. And I've already got those. And this recipe is quite easy in that everything that you prepare goes into one bowl, then you make the balls and then you cook them. So I've got my noodles already, and I'm popping them into my bowl. In the bowl, I've already got my minced pork. Now you'll see there's a lot more there than the 125 grams that the recipe suggests. Now this recipe suggests that this is for 2 people. It really is cut back to the bone for cooking at school, but because you're doing it at home, please double the recipe and make it for the family for dinner. It really is a beautiful recipe, and I'd hate to see you make only just the 2 serves. So please feel free to double the recipe and make this for dinner. So into the bowl, I've got my noodles, my pork, now my onion that I've already chopped over here. You see it's quite a bit of onion. The recipe says half a small onion. I ended up using one quite large onion. And I think what I might do actually is when there is a bit too much here, you can actually take some of this and freeze it and do it another time if you wanted to. So into there I've got my onion, garlic, fresh garlic. Please do use fresh garlic, guys, especially those of you who are hoping to have a career in cooking. It just tastes so much better than the rubbish that you get crushed in a jar. However, if you push for time and that's all you've got, then do use that. But if you're working in any 5-star place, and for the purposes of this recipe, I'd really like you to use the fresh garlic. And the same goes with ginger. Now the ginger, you'll see I attempted to grate the ginger on the smallest side of the grater. That's just to show you that it will come out really quite like mush on the other side. Try and use the next size up. That one is a lot easier to grate the ginger, and it doesn't end up right like mush. It ends up like in big pieces like that. So in there goes the ginger, coriander, which I've roughly chopped. Again, just to get all that off the board, I'm gonna pop that in there. And now when I was getting all the ingredients together ready, and I suggest you do the same, because when you follow along with number 3 of the method, then you can follow basically the bouncing ball and make sure that you've got all your ingredients into the bowl. So I've got my coriander. In here I've got 2 egg yolks. I had very small eggs, plus I'm doubling the recipe, remember. And I've also got my fish sauce, my sambal olek, which is a very spicy chili that comes from, I think, Indonesia. Many multicultural flavours in this dish. I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. And what did I say? Fish sauce, sambal olek, and egg yolks. So they all go into there as well. Notice I've got my gloves on, so I'm also ready to start mixing that by hand, because it's a lot easier than trying to do it with a wooden spoon. So the flour, everything essentially, you can see, except your lime juice, which I've got here already prepared, ready for the finished product, and the sweet chili sauce. That's what you serve them with. And I've also already cooked the rice. Now the rice, I used the absorption method. If you're not sure how to do that, have a look at a little YouTube video on how to cook rice using the absorption method. Otherwise, the way I do it, and I'll explain it: cup of rice, Wash the rice to get out any sort of starchy looking bits. Put the rice in the bottom of a pan this size. When you put the rice in the bottom, fill with water up to the first notch on your index finger, the first joint there that bends. If you fill just past the rice, so if you put your finger into the rice and come up to there with the water, pop it onto the stove, boil it, and then as soon as it boils, turn it down as far down as you can possibly go with your stove and pop a lid on. And just leave it there for about 15 minutes. And then the rice will absorb all the moisture in the pot. And obviously it will double in size, at least. So you can see that I've already done that here. I've also put in some curry leaf, some clove, some spices, Indian spices, and that just gives the rice a more fragrant flavour when you come to eat it. Tastes so much nicer. Remember to take out the cloves and the curry leaves before you serve it though. So the rice gets popped aside for the moment. I've got everything in my bowl ready to mix together, and I'm going to pause this video until I do that, because then I'm going to get dirty hands. And again, advertising for a camera person. If anybody who does not have COVID and wants to come and be my camera person, that would be excellent. I'm not allowed to have you at home, I know. Over here, before I pause the video, I'd just like to tell you I've got my oil already in the pan. I've got my tray with the absorbent paper ready to put the finished product onto, or the pork balls onto. And I've got my tongs ready to take them out of the frying pan. And the reason I'm showing you all that just now is the next part of this video will be me frying the actual pork balls, and I may or may not get a chance to explain, because I have to give full concentration obviously then to the oil and the stove. So I will get back to you in 2 shakes of a cow's tail. As you can see, guys, I've finished making all the balls, trying to get them all evenly sized as they cook evenly. I've got my oil on over here, and I've got a bit more oil rather than what the recipe says. Remember, I've doubled the recipe and I'm making this for dinner. Okay, and I also think shallow frying 2 tablespoons of oil is not enough when you are when you're using balls that size. Okay, so you should hear a nice crispy sound, or sizzling sound rather, as soon as I put the balls into the frying pan. And hopefully I'm going to be able to do this in 2 batches. I'm going to pause obviously the video again, and I just wanted to show you how I've set up the station, how I've got my frying pan with the oil on the stove, my tray ready with the absorbent paper, my tongs and the balls ready to cook. I've also got ready the plate that I'm going to serve them on, and the lime juice on one end and the sweet chilli on the other, and I'll probably have the balls in the middle there. So I'm just going to pause the video again just so as I can cook these off, and I'm going to show you the finished product, then you'll know exactly what it should look like. Back again, guys. You can see that I've popped the rice onto the plate that I want to serve the noodle balls on. I've got my sweet chilli one side, my lemon or lime the other side. The recipe says lime, but I only had lemon, so I used that instead. I've got some coriander for garnish. I've got my second batch of noodle balls on cooking here. These were the first batch. Please make sure you taste them. They are divine. Not that I do, because they are not vegetarian, as you know. And this would probably be 1 serve of noodle balls, but I'm just going to leave that like that. Pop on my coriander garnish, and there you go. people, crunchy pork noodle balls. That is recipe number 3 in food product development.